Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Creativity in itself is an act of defiance, taking a stand for what we believe in, turning a blind eye to what's been done to foster an idea that has no guarantee of coming to fruition. It's one of the hardest things any being can choose to do, and yet we all start from the same place, shaping that hopeless first draft, being vulnerable enough for our minds to wander, and allowing ourselves to ask questions that begin with what if and why not. It's a grueling process, but the idea doesn't care. It's unrelenting, intruding and uncompromising, only existing in the imagination. And before we're able to take control, that idea begins to occupy and corrode our every thought, waiting to be brought to life.
When we first sit down with that blank page in front of us, there truly aren't any restrictions. We can make anything.
What's the tone going to be? Fiction or non? What's the soundtrack? Where's it going to take place?
Instinctively, this is a marvel for any creative person. But when you're the one in control, staring back at that blank page, I assure you it's a bit more than daunting. Draft after draft, trying to make sense of what's in your head. How am I going to shoot this? How do I make it more gripping? I need a better ending. If there's one thing that's certain, both curiosity and fear fuel the creative process. And when it's time to film, there's a very clear sense of purpose. Knowing exactly what has to be done, everything seemingly coming together. The lighting is ideal, the subject looks perfect, the B-roll is crisp. Somehow, that blank page turned into something concrete. But then every so often, looking back in the edit is when you realize one key element is missing. And that's torture. It's those moments as hours pass, struggling to find a solution, when it all seems pointless. You rethink the path you chose.
I've always been intrigued by the relentless conflict of highs and lows that come with being a creative.
We all experience these depths of feeling lost or unoriginal, and yet we keep going, aiming at experiencing those highs one last time. Whenever I'm spinning, I try to take a step back and pause, and try to remember why I started. Remember that I'm in this for the right reasons. Remember why I had to pursue this fascination of telling stories, and knowing there's a greater purpose tied to this career than one video for one client. Making sure I not only challenge myself to push for the best, but I also challenge the client to not settle and push for what can be, because it's that strive for more that keeps me going. And when we least expect it, that missing piece of the puzzle suddenly appears out of nowhere. And we finally get a chance to release the idea that's been bottled up for months and sometimes years to the world.
Every creative idea is accompanied by this duality of choosing to waver or set forward. And I think it divides into believing there's more probability of failure than success and knowing you could fail but continuing anyway. This path of experimentation and sometimes simply guessing is reserved for the defiant ones. Those who embrace every uncertain moment to the fullest and refuse to settle. Knowing they have a grander purpose of doing more and being more. But, above all, this path is for people like you, who keep pushing. Pushing through those hopeless first drafts, pushing to bring those intruding ideas to life. Because in your eyes, a life without this exhilaration would be no life at all. A life without this wonder would feel incomplete. To be defiant is to remember why you started. Because in order to keep going and keep pushing, you have to know where you came from. You have to know what you've already accomplished.
We are down. We copy you down, Eagle. We are down. Eagle is on the moon.